Hi everyone, my name is Haley and welcome back or welcome to my channel. So for today's video, I thought it would be fun to tier rank every book I read in 2023. The last time I did a tier ranking video was like at the very beginning of my channel, and I did it on popular book tropes, and I had a lot of fun doing that. And as I said in my video of my 5-star reads from 2023, I didn't really feel like sitting down and just talking about all the books I read last year. So I figured a more fun way to do it would be a tier ranking list, so that is what we're doing today. I read 55 books last year, but there are a few that I'm not going to mention anymore because of the author's stance on Palestine, so I will not be mentioning them. If you are really that curious, you can go into my Goodreads, and I'm not sure if you can see my past reading challenge, but it's there if you want to see it, but I will not be talking about them. So other than that, let's just get into it. I'm gonna scoot over here so that the screen recording can be here, and I have my laptop here too. It doesn't have that much space on it, so I'm so sorry if you can hear the fan, but I really hope it's not loud because I like can't open Chrome on here without my computer freaking out. So hopefully the screen recording goes well and it lasts for this whole video. As you can see here, we have the 5 tiers. So first ones are I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. So I feel like there's no further explanation needed for that. The second tier, which is like my 4 stars, is going to be clean up on aisle 8. The third tier is just mid, that's what it was. Fourth tier, divorce babes divorce, meaning, you know, we had a good run, but I don't want to associate with you anymore. It was probably not my best decision to even get in there. And then the last one, it's so bad I want to give you a 0. Those are the different rankings that I have, and I'm just gonna go through what I read last year and rank them accordingly. I'm gonna start from the first book that I read. I don't know if these imported in the correct order, so I'm looking at my Goodreads to remind myself. But the first book I read in 2023 was The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. This goes in I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, because this book was just so good. I've talked about it so many times. It's basically a fantasy book about this girl named Ikenna, and she is trying to figure out who murdered her uncle or her grandpa, and the only way that she can figure it out is by joining the Praetorian Guard because the weapon that was used to kill him belongs to one of the guards. So she has to go through trials to try and complete this training so she can figure out who killed her grandpa, but there's a lot of hard tests and really unfortunate trials and tribulations that she faces, not only when she's competing but also from her squad mates. So this was such a good book. I always recommend it, and like I say every time I mention it, I really need to read the second one. Okay, and then we have Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score, and I'm putting this in cleanup on aisle, you know, actually I think I'll put it at mid. When I first read it, I gave it 4 stars. So I was gonna put it on cleanup on aisle 8, but the more that I see discourse about it, I'm like rethinking my rating, because not that I let other people's ratings influence my choices like that, but I don't know, I feel like the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what, you might be onto something. So I put it at mid. This follows Knox and Naomi, and it's like a small town romance, good girl, grumpy guy, enemies to lovers. It's just your typical small town romance. It's your typical a bit too long romance, so I feel like you could either pick it up if you haven't already or disregard it, because there are so many small town romances now. I don't think this one really sticks out that much. Okay, and then next we have Below Zero by Ali Hazelwood, and that is going to be I Love You, I Love You, I Love You, I Love You. This was the 3rd book in the Steminist novellas. I had read the other 2 I think earlier, or in 2022. Anything Ali Hazelwood will usually be 4 or 5 stars. I loved this novella. I thought it was super cute. And then we have Hooked by Emily McIntyre, and I gave this 4 stars, so we'll put it on cleanup on aisle 8. Honestly, going into this book, I really didn't know what to expect because I don't read a lot of dark romance, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself. This is a retelling of Captain Hook, I think, and Wendy, a romance if they were to have one, like in the Peter Pan world. And there's like mafia and good girl bad boy trope. I thought it was a really good dark romance because it's not super dark. I think I would struggle reading things that are super dark, but this was like a really good middle ground, because I do love a man who will kill others to protect her in a fictional sense. There was a lot of that in here. Loved it, ate it up, clean up on aisle 8. And then we have Scarred, which is the second book in this series, and I gave this 3 stars, so we're just gonna put it in mid. I really did not enjoy it as much as Hooked, and I don't really know why. I feel like the romance was better in the first one, and this followed Tristan and Sarah, and I think Tristan is like a prince and she is also royalty, and they like are in a, I think she is supposed to marry his brother because he's the crown prince and he's like the bad one. All in all, I feel like it's a pretty good series to read if you want to dip your toes into dark romance. Okay, and then we have The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, and I am going to put this in cleanup on aisle 8. I really love this book. I listened to it on audio and it kind of felt like I was listening to a Studio Ghibli movie just because I thought it was so atmospheric and just really heartwarming. Mina is the main character and she throws herself into the sea to sacrifice herself as the water god's bride. So it's just her trying to figure out what to do when she gets there and navigating that new reality that is her life, and a little bit of romance as well. I thought it was really good. I thought the storytelling was beautiful. I thought the story was beautiful, and I just really enjoyed it. Okay, and then we have Leave the World Behind, and this is going in cleanup on aisle 8. Fun fact about me, I read this before I even knew it was going to be a movie, so I don't know if that means I'm psychic or just really cool, but I was there before the hype, so just want to put it out there. But Leave the World Behind is kind of like a dystopian novel about this family who goes to stay in an Airbnb in like the New York countryside for vacation, and while they're there some weird things start happening in the outside world, and the owners of the house come and ask if they can stay with them. The wife struggles thinking that it's a scam and it's not really what it seems, but there's a lot of things that are happening outside of those 4 walls that they're not really privy to because they're kind of cut off from the outside world. I really liked this. I haven't watched the movie, but based on what I've heard, I feel like the book is better. I feel like it's a story that's told better in this author's writing style, so I really liked that. I listened to it on audio, so if you listen to it, let me know if you liked it. But I love just like weird stories, and that's exactly what this was. Like, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. Okay, and then we have The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware, and I'm gonna put this in mid because honestly I feel like all of her books have been mid for me, and I've given them multiple chances and it just doesn't hit for me. I don't know why. I feel like they're always really predictable and the writing is just not enticing enough for the predictability to like be overlooked, if that makes sense. The Woman in Cabin 10 follows our main character named Lo, and she is a journalist who writes for a travel magazine, and she has been given an assignment of being on a week-long luxury cruise because I think her boss couldn't go, so she sends her as a replacement. She sees a woman being thrown overboard, but all of the passengers are accounted for. It's called The Woman in Cabin 10 because that's where she saw her before she was thrown overboard, but she doesn't exist. So it's just like that kind of thriller mystery. It was pretty predictable and I don't know, just like not enticing enough for me to give it any higher than a 3.5. And then we have The Sanatorium by Sarah Pierce, and I am also going to put this in mid. Something about me is I'm for some reason good at predicting what's going to happen in thrillers, and so I've yet to find a book that has really thrown me for a loop and caught me off guard. So that's why a lot of thrillers are not going to be higher than a 4-star, because to me a 5-star is something that is not gonna allow me to guess what's gonna happen. But I also felt like besides the predictability, it just like wasn't my favorite. The writing style was just okay, like it just was not something that is very memorable. So it follows our main character named Ellen Warner, and she's a detective, but she is on leave because of something that had happened during her last case, and so she is at a former sanatorium that has since been renovated into a 5-star minimalist hotel, and I think she's there because her brother is getting married, and so he's having like the engagement celebration there. But as she's there, some things are going on and someone goes missing. So now Ellen is like thrown into a case where she's supposed to be on a break and kind of not where her head used to be, while also trying to solve a missing persons case in this isolated area of the Swiss Alps where like you just can't leave because there's a big storm going on. So everything is stacked against her. And I feel like it could make for a really good story because of the setting and like the stakes, but it just kind of fell flat for me and it was just kind of mid. We have The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. This is I Love You, I Love You, I Love You. Incredible story. I've talked about it so many times, but it follows this boy from Afghanistan and his kite running competition that he did with his best friend, but there are some things that happen during that competition and the war and everything, and our main character ends up moving to America, so it's kind of flashing between past and present tense and seeing what happened to his best friend during that competition and the fallout from it, and just what it's like to leave a place that you know you can never go back to, and dealing with generational trauma for something like that. It's a beautiful story and I always highly recommend. And then next we have Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, and this is going on to cleanup on aisle 8. This is the first and only Laini Taylor book I've read, but it is a YA fantasy story about this girl named Karu, and she has been raised by monsters, but she doesn't really know why. She doesn't know where she came from. She just knows that they're family. And so that's how she grew up, and she's trying to figure out who she is and where she came from. And one day she meets this man named Akiba who can give her the answers that she's looking for, but it opens up a can of worms for a world that she was not ready for, and secrets and everything like that. So I thought it was a really fun YA fantasy. I've kind of steered away from YA because I feel like a lot of the stories are just the same. It's definitely like a unique story, and I don't know, it was really fun to listen to it on audio as well, and it seems like a really colorful atmosphere, which I really liked, and I don't know, I thought it was really good, and I need to finish the series. But if you're looking for YA fantasy that might not be exactly like everything you've read already, I would definitely recommend Daughter of Smoke and Bone. Okay, and then we have In a Dark Dark Wood by Ruth Ware, and I am going to put this in mid because, again, like everything I said before, it was predictable, the writing was just okay, and it wasn't really entertaining enough, but I always hear people raving about her. That's why I tried so many of her books. I think I've read 3 of them and they just always fall flat for me. So it says, reclusive writer Lenora is invited to the English countryside for a weekend getaway, and she reluctantly agrees to make the trip, but as the first night falls, revelations unfold among friends old and new. An unnerving memory shatters Lenora's reserve, and a haunting realization creeps in that the party is not alone in the woods. So again, like secluded in a certain area, secrets are coming out, you're not alone. Just like your basic thriller, and I just don't think she did anything new with it, so it was just mid. Okay, and then we have The Project by Courtney Summers, and this is going in Divorce Babes Divorce. Something about me is I don't really rate books very low that often because I want to try and find like the good things about it. I really did not like this. This is a cult book, not a cult, but this follows our main character named Lo, and she has a sister named B, and B joined a community called the Unity Project and kind of just cut off all communication with Lo. Lo is, I think, a journalist, and so she decides to go and infiltrate the Unity Project and find her sister and really figure out what's going on. For me, I feel like this could have had such a good critique on what cults are and like how they can negatively affect someone, but I was really irritated because everything that the main character disliked about the cult and like people in general is like what she turned into. So like all of the traits that she didn't like in her sister, she ended up getting them herself, and I'm like, I don't know if it's like to show that the influence that cults can have over someone, where you have this preconceived notion of how much you don't like them and how bad they are, and then it influences you to think otherwise. If that was the case, I don't think it was done correctly, because to me it just seemed like irritating that a certain outcome happened versus like me actually thinking about why it happened. I don't know if any of that makes sense. I just feel like the critique, if it was there, it was not done very well, and the main character was really irritating, and the whole thing, I just like did not like it. So Divorce Babes Divorce. Okay, and then next we have Hating the Player by Rebecca Genshak, and this is going in mid. And I was kind of disappointed because I read Tutoring the Player, which is the first book in the Campus Wallflower series, and I really liked it. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. And then I got to this one and I just didn't enjoy it as much. It felt like a novella more than like a full book. It follows Gavin, and I don't remember the girl's name, but she's like best friends with the girl from the first book, and Gavin is meets someone that she used to hook up with, and then they broke it off, but like they still like each other type of thing, and they go on a camping trip together that kind of throws them back into each other's orbit, and he is a basketball player. I did not like it very much. I still enjoy sports romance, so that's why it's still like a 3-star, but if it wasn't a sports romance, I don't think I would have liked it as much. It just felt rushed, it felt like a novella, and I don't like when characters already have a prior physical and emotional history, so that was on me for still reading it because I knew I wasn't gonna like it. But yeah, it was just mid. I do recommend the first book though. Okay, and then we have Alex Cold Fury Hockey. I did a ranking sports romance series video, so I had to read a lot of them, so that's why a lot of these are on here. I didn't have any strong feelings about this either way. It was really just mid. It follows Alexander Crossman, and he's like a cold-hearted player on and off the rink, and then he's partnered up with this woman named Sutton who works in social work, I think. She's a social worker, and she's paired up with Alex so that he can clean up his image and volunteer with the work that Sutton does. So they're kind of thrown together, forced proximity, enemies to lovers type of thing, but it was not memorable. I don't even remember half of the book, so yeah, true definition of mid. And then after that we have First Score by Lucilla Meyer. This was also mid. It follows Blaze and I don't even remember her name. This is the thing, I'm really bad at remembering characters' names. Blaze is the guy and he's a hockey player, and this girl comes into college and she is still a virgin, and so she makes it her mission to lose her V-card, but she is 18 and I think he's like 21 or 22, and like that's not a big age gap, but she's like fresh out of high school, 18, so I don't know, it was just like a little weird for me. I didn't love that aspect of it, and so she just kind of tries to convince him to take her V-card, and then it ends up being something more than that, but again, not very memorable and a little bit icky. And then we have Bad Boys Break Hearts by Michaela Smeltzer, and this was also mid, which is like disappointing because I really love sports romance books. I could see myself liking other books in this series, but this one just was not my favorite. It follows Mason and Rory, and they were like childhood best friends, but then something happened where Rory had to move away and they lost contact. Once they see each other again, when she goes to his college, they like hate each other. This was mid, but I can see myself liking other books in the series because I enjoyed the writing style and like the storyline. Okay, and then we have Arch-Conspirator by Veronica Roth, and this was also mid. I never read Divergent, so this was like the first book that I had ever read by her, and it's a retelling of the Greek play Antigone, but sci-fi. So it says, outside the last city on Earth, the planet is a wasteland without the archive where the genes of the dead are stored. Humanity will end. Passing into the archive should be cause for celebration, but Antigone's parents were murdered, leaving her father's throne vacant. As her militant uncle Creon rises to claim it, all Antigone feels is rage. When he welcomes her and her siblings into his mansion, Antigone sees it for what it really is, a gilded cage where she is a captive as well as a guest. But her uncle will soon learn that no cage is unbreakable, and neither is he. Since I never read Antigone, I don't really remember what happens in this book, but I thought it was a good retelling. Like, if you wanted to understand the fundamental lesson of Antigone, I thought this was a good book to do so, because it breaks it down and still has like the same themes, I'm assuming, because it is a retelling. But outside of it being that, I just thought it was mid. I feel like I'm getting sick halfway through this video. I don't know what's going on. But moving on, we have Mile High by Liz Tomford, and this is Cleanup on Aisle 8. This is a hockey romance. It follows Stevie and Xanders. Stevie is the flight attendant for this pro hockey team's airplane. Xanders is like the playboy, bad boy of the team. Forbidden romance, forced proximity type of thing. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really cute. I just finished the second book in this series, which I also liked. I think she writes really well thought out characters and does really great character development throughout the whole book. I do think they are a tad bit long. There's also a lot of storylines that don't have to do with the romance, so I understand needing to like tie up loose ends and everything, but it's also not a 5-star because I feel like the characters get together a little bit sooner than I would personally enjoy, so that's just a me thing. I enjoy a little bit more of a slow burn if the book is that long. I'm excited to read the rest of the books in the series. Okay, so then after Mile High, we have Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is going in Divorce Babes Divorce. It was a 3-star when I read it, but like the more I thought about it, I thought it should be a 2-star. And I was really excited to read this because everyone raves about it. I love superheroes. I've never read a superhero book that wasn't a comic book or like a graphic novel, so I was really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, it did not live up to any expectations that I had. It could be because I listened to it on audio and those voice actors were, rent was due. Like, they were doing their job, but their job was super annoying to me because some of these characters just, like, I did not like them. Like, the one villain in the book with, like, the puppeteer or whatever reminded me of Mineta from My Hero Academia, and if you know anything about that, then you know just, like, how infuriating it really was. I just, like, thought it was so cringy. I don't know, I feel like that's really mean, but like it felt like a child who was obsessed with superheroes wrote this book. If you were to make me come up with a story that is the most cliche, simplistic, and childish story of superheroes, this is what I would come up with. And I just didn't like it, so I will not be finishing the series, and I hope no one hates me for that because a lot of people love this series. And I just don't get it. Okay, and then we have Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim, and I put this in cleanup on aisle 8. I really enjoyed this book. I still need to read the second one. So this follows our main character named Maya, and she is a seamstress in her father's shop. I think he got injured or he got sick, so Maya takes place for him to do the work. And there is a royal competition to find the prince's new tailor, and her father gets invited, but he can't travel, so Maya dresses up as a man and goes as his son, like her brother. So it's like Mulan. There's a romance. I think there's also like a quest. I think they go and do some stuff because there's like challenges in the competition that causes them to travel. So it was like a competition, but also a quest, adventure, romance. And it's YA, and I just thought it was really well done. I thought it was a really sweet story, and I really enjoyed the writing style, so I'm really excited to read second one, and I think it's a duology, so I will be one step closer to finishing a series that I'm already in the middle of. I highly recommend. And then next we have The Ivies by Alexa Dunn, and I am going to put this on cleanup on aisle 8. I thought this was so fun. It follows our main character who, she's like in this group of popular girls, and they all choose an Ivy League school to apply to because you obviously can't apply to the same one, apparently. So they are like the it girls, but then someone ends up getting murdered, and they are the ones that everyone looks to because it turns out that she was also applying to one of the schools that they were applying to. It's like a high school thriller, and it's just like so crazy, but it is so crazy that it could also happen. Like the ending, I feel like, is just so unhinged that I also feel like it could happen. So just based on like how people are these days. So I really enjoyed this. I want to read more from this author. I don't know if she has other stuff, but if you like YA thrillers, I would really recommend this one. And then we have Five Total Strangers by Natalie D. Richards, and this is going on mid. This is a story about a girl who is stranded at the airport, and like this group of people on her flight are deciding to take a road trip to get to where they need to go because there's a storm and there's no more planes flying out of the airport. She is in this car and she realizes she doesn't really know anyone, but she thinks that one of them knows her, and it's like trying to figure out what the connection is and why someone would put her in this situation and everything like that. I just think it fell a little bit flat, and I feel like with the setup it could have gotten a lot darker than it did, but I think since it's YA it didn't go that far, but for me I was kind of wanting it to go a little bit further. Okay, and then we have Royal Blood by Amy Carter, and this is going in cleanup on aisle 8. This is again another YA thriller. I really love YA thrillers, and I think this was really fun. It follows our main character named Evan, and she's the King of England's illegitimate daughter. She is forced to spend the summer in London with her father and the royal family, who aren't really happy that she is here, but someone ends up getting murdered and she is the primary suspect, so she has to go and figure out who did it and why, and like clear her name and everything like that. I thought it was a fun thriller, a little bit predictable, but I always assume YA thrillers are going to be predictable, but I just like them because they're a little bit more fun. Okay, and then we have Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney, and this is going into mid as well. So this follows our main character Daisy, and her entire family is assembling for her grandma's 80th birthday party in her grandma's house on a tiny island. So they're back together for one last time, and when when the tide comes in, they will be cut off from the rest of the world. And at the stroke of midnight, as the storm rages, her grandma is found dead, and an hour later, another family member follows. So she's trapped on this island, and her family's getting killed off one by one, and has to figure out why and who's doing it. In my review, I said it was just an overall average experience. The plot is brilliant. I love a thriller where you literally can't leave, but I didn't feel scared. So I was never worried or cared about who was next, and I feel like that's a big indicator of not really connecting with the characters and it just being like a mid experience. And then we have The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas, and I gave this a 4 stars. We're going to put this in cleanup on aisle 8. This follows our main character named Beatrice, but her father is executed and her home is destroyed, and so this man named Don Rodolfo proposes to her, and she ignores the rumors that are surrounding his first wife's sudden demise because she has nothing anymore, so she decides to marry him, and she is going to live on this hacienda. It's not everything that it seems to be. She feels like she's not alone in the house, like someone might be watching her, and it kind of just follows what she goes through and all the secrets that are revealed. This was my first Gothic horror, and I really loved it. I even bought her new book, Vampires of El Norte, because I really enjoyed this one. There was something that wasn't letting me give it a 5 star. I think maybe because, again, like, I could figure out what was going to happen, but I love the writing style and I really enjoyed the story, and I thought it was just like eerie and creepy and really atmospheric, and I really enjoyed it. So cleanup on aisle 8. And then we have The Anomaly by Hervé Letellier. This is a French book, I'm pretty sure, and I'm going to put this on cleanup on aisle 8. This was a really interesting experience because I listened to it on audio. In June 2021, a senseless event upends the lives of hundreds of men and women, all passengers on a flight from Paris to New York. Among them, Blake, the respectable family man, though he was a contract killer, Slim Boy, a Nigerian pop star tired of living a lie, Joanna, a formidable lawyer whose flaws have caught up with her, and Victor Mizell, a critically acclaimed yet commercially unsuccessful writer who suddenly becomes a cult hit. All of them believed that they had double lives. None of them imagined just how true that was. So I really liked this. There was a big cast of characters and you didn't really know what was gonna happen. Like I said about Leave the World Behind, I like weird stories. I like when you don't really have a proper ending, and this book was like that as well. I remember listening to the last page and I was like, holy shit. Like, it was just so interesting, and I really enjoyed the end of the book. But again, I don't think I would reread it, and I don't really think about it that often, so that's why it's not a 5 star. But as I was reading it and listening to it, I really enjoyed it. It was just weird. It was an anomaly, so if you enjoy weird stories, I would highly recommend checking this out and maybe listening to it on audio, because that was a really fun experience as well. Okay, and then next we have all of the, or not all, the first 4 books in the Chestnut Springs series, so I'm just going to go through them pretty fast. So Flawless, I gave 4 stars, so this is going in cleanup on aisle 8. It was my first cowboy romance, so it holds a special place in my heart, and this is Rhett and Summer's book. I think it's Enemies to Lovers. So yeah, Rhett is like the face of professional bull riding. Well, he was, but then something happened that kind of messed up his image, so now he's stuck with his agent's daughter, I think, to clean up his reputation, to kind of just keep an eye on him and make sure he doesn't do anything reckless. It's their story. It was really cute. I gave it 4 stars, but it didn't like hit me in my heart for me to give it 5 stars. But it was really cute and I really enjoyed it. And then Heartless, I did give 5 stars. This is I Love You, I Love You, I Love You. This follows Cade and Willa. Willa is the best friend of Summer in the first book, and Cade is Rhett's brother, so he's a single dad, and Willa has agreed to babysit his son for him during the summer, and so it's like forced proximity. I think they might live together, single dad romance. I thought it was really cute. Age gap as well, which I didn't think I liked age gap, but I think I do. So it was really cute. I really loved it. I think that their dynamic was just so good because Cade is a man of very few words and Willa is a woman of a lot of words. So I just really loved their dynamic, and they're so cute and I loved it. Okay, and then we have Powerless, and I gave this cleanup on aisle 8. This follows Jasper and Sloane, and they are like childhood best friends to lovers, and he is a hockey player and she is a ballet dancer, and I really like that dynamic. I think it's so cute, but I felt like it was a little bit too long, and I don't really enjoy childhood best friends to lovers in the first place, but I liked her writing style and I thought the story was cute, so that's why it's going on cleanup on aisle 8. And then the last one we have is Reckless, and this is also going on cleanup on aisle 8, and this follows Theo, Silva, and Winter, who is Summer's half-sister. Theo is like the up-and-coming bull rider, and Rhett is his mentor, and Winter is Summer's kind of estranged half-sister. They don't really have the best relationship. I think they actually hook up in the beginning of the book. It's like a one-night stand, and then they find out who each other are, and it's like a will they won't they type of situation. I really like them together. I think they're my second favorite couple besides Willa and Cade. They were really cute. I really loved them. Okay, after that we have A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, and I am going to give this 4 stars on Cleanup on Aisle 8. So this follows our main character named Diana Bishop, and she is a witch, but she doesn't like to use her magic, so she is like a PhD student in alchemy, and so she is trying to find this lost manuscript to write her book or whatever, and it kind of catches the attention of a vampire because this book is way more magical than she thought, so it kind of puts all of the occult eyes on her, and she now has to team up with a vampire, and their species do not like each other, but they have to team up to keep her safe, but also like find this book and figure out the answers that it can give them and just keep it away from the wrong hands. It's a really long book though, so I listened to it on audio, and I feel like if I read it I probably wouldn't have finished it, like if I read it physically. It was a really good story, but it's so long, or at least it felt really long. And then we have Dune by Frank Herbert. This is I Love You, I Love You, I Love You. If you don't know, Dune is like a space opera about this man named Paul Atreides, and he is sent to the planet of Arrakis after his father is killed, and Arrakis is this planet with spice on it. It's highly coveted for trading and everything like that, but there's a lot of politics between the people who sent him there and the people that live there, and how like Paul is navigating this new life and how he kind of becomes a symbol for the people on this planet, and how to deal with that. It's so good. I love it. I can't wait to read the rest of the series, and it's a classic for a reason, so if you're scared, just try it and see if you like it, because I was scared but I ended up loving it. And then we have The Millhouse Murders by Yukito Ayatsuji, and this is going in Cleanup on Aisle 8. This is the second book in the Decagon House Murders, so this is the same detective from the first book except just a different case. So there's this man who lives here, and he doesn't leave the house because an accident had disfigured him. He has all of his father's paintings. His father was an artist and he passed away, so he invites like 4 or 5 people to his house the same day every year to come and look at these paintings, but something happens during this visit because someone dies, and so the detective comes to solve the case. I thought it was kind of predictable. I didn't enjoy it as much as the Decagon House Murders, but I love Japanese fiction, so I still ranked this pretty high, so that's why it's on Cleanup on Aisle 8. And then we have Life for Sale by Yukio Mishima. This is also going on Cleanup on Aisle 8. This is about a man who puts his life for sale in a newspaper, and about the coming predicaments and situations that he gets himself in because of the type of people that come to buy his life from him. Really strange. An adventure, takes you every which way. You don't really know what's going on even at the end. It's just a weird story. Also just is a really interesting concept of putting your life up for sale in the newspaper, so I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a really cool idea. Not quite a 5-star, but I still really enjoyed it. So if you're looking for just a weird story with some enigmatic characters, I would definitely recommend. Okay, and then we have The Bride Test by Helen Huang, and I feel like I want to put it between these two, but I think I'll just put it here for now on Cleanup on Aisle 8. This is the second book in the Kiss Quotient series, and it follows our main characters Kai and Esme, and Kai has autism, which I love the representation that Helen Huang puts in her books, and Esme is from Vietnam, and she moves to California where Kai lives because his mom wants him to get married. So she tells Esme like, come here and live with him and make him fall in love with you, kind of thing. Esme takes her up on it. She's thinking, oh, this could be what I need. I need to send money back home, and I can, you know, further my education here and even meet a guy and fall in love. Kai is not the type that does well with like romantic relationships, and so it's a lot about navigating that and him coming to terms with this woman who's living in his house and just trying to figure out like what these new feelings are. So I really love them together. I think they're super cute. Don't judge me. The next one is Squeak by Vera Valentine. This is going in... Oh, I put this at mid? Okay, I guess when I read this I gave it a 3-star. I did a video where I read inanimate object romance books so that I could talk about them, and so this is the first one that I read. It's about this girl who's an artist and she likes to go to the local zoo to like do people watching and draw them, and she meets this boy and it turns out that he is like transforms into a balloon animal because of this curse that he has, but he also has a boyfriend and she doesn't know that. So like she has a crush on him and she doesn't know that he can like transform into a balloon animal and that he's cursed, but he also has a boyfriend, and then it becomes this whole throuple type of situation. Regardless of all of that, I think I might have enjoyed the writing style, not necessarily the content, but the writing style. So I feel like if this author wrote like a more not normal but normal to me type of book, then I would really enjoy it. So I think that's why I gave it a 3-star. We can move on from this one very quickly. And then we have Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan, and I'm putting this in Divorce Babes Divorce. I gave it a 2.75, but again, like the more I think back on it, the more I just didn't like it. This follows Sam and Wyatt, and I think they were high school romance lovers, something like that, and like it was her first love, and now Sam is engaged and she comes back home for something and she runs into Wyatt, and they haven't seen each other since they broke it off, and it's like going between past and present of their relationship, and I really just did not like either of them. I didn't like them together. I wish I don't know. This was just not good. It wasn't quite enough where it was so bad I wanted to give it a 0, but I just really disliked it, and I don't think I'll be reading anything else from this author again. Save yourself the trouble. There are better like childhood to strangers to lover books out there. This is just not one of them. We're almost done, I swear. Next we have Unhinged by Vera Valentine. This is going in It's So Bad I Want to Give You a 0. This is a book about a girl who falls in love with her door. I don't even want to explain it to you. He somehow is related to like a Greek god, and like the acorn or something like was put into this wood of the door. That's why he's a sentient being, and he falls in love with the tenant that lives in the apartment. There are some acts that happen in here that involve a doorknob. If you want to hear my thoughts, I'll link the video below about where I talked about it, because I don't want to relive that, so we're just gonna move on. And then we have The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, and this was also mid, so I don't think I'll be reading any more Ruth Ware books. So this follows our main character named Rowan, and she answers an ad in a newspaper to be a live-in nanny for this like super rich family, and so she goes and there's a murder, so she needs to figure out what happened. I did not like her, and everything I've said about Ruth Ware books is the same. That's just the plot of the book, and I just didn't really enjoy it that much. Okay, and then we have Stuffed by Sylvia Morrow. It's So Bad I Want to Give You a 0. This is about a sentient pillow and the owner of said pillow. I think there's at one point where like his body is a pillow, but he's grown arms and legs and a head. I don't know. It was just like whatever you think can happen in this book probably happens. And then we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I'm gonna not beat this over the head because I talk about it all the time. Follows our main character named Alex. She can see ghosts, and she is enlisted by the Dean of Yale to come and join Leith Society, which is a society that keeps all of the other 8 magical societies of Yale in check and make sure they're not using magic in the wrong way. Something goes wrong, she realizes she might be in over her head, and she needs to figure out how to fix it before she essentially gets kicked out. I love this book so much. If you like dark academia and magic and like creepy vibes, I would highly recommend. It's so well written. Don't think about Leigh Bardugo in her YA books. Think about her as a brand new author, because it really is not like any of her YA stuff. So highly recommend. And then we have None Shall Sleep by Ellie Marney, and I am going to put this in, I think I'll do cleanup on aisle 8 because I couldn't decide if it was a 3.5 or a 4-star, but I remember really enjoying it. It's about these 2 teenagers who go to like this FBI program. One of them is a survivor of a murder attack, and another one is like the son of an army general, something like that, and so they team up to try and get information out of this psychopath who is around their same age. I think that's why they're brought in, to like have someone younger talk to this person and try to relate to them and get information out of him. It was just a really good story. I liked the writing style. I read it I think in one day or something. Like I flew through it. I would recommend if you want to look for another YA thriller that doesn't take place in high school and is a little bit more high stakes and I don't know, just like a different vibe than your typical YA thriller. Okay, and then we have Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. This follows Jack and Elsie. Elsie is a theoretical physicist and Jack is an experimental physicist, and I guess those two groups don't really get along, but she also dislikes him because he ruined her mentor's career, but now she has to work with him, and he is also like part of the committee that would give her the job that she wants. Enemies to lovers, academic rivalry. I will eat up anything that Allie Hazelwood writes, and I think this is by far my favorite science romance that she's ever written. So if you are trying to decide which one you should read, I would choose Love Theoretically. Okay, and then we have My Roommate is a Vampire, and this is going on mid, and this is by Jenna Levine. This is about a girl who finds an apartment for really cheap, and it says the roommate is never going to be home during the day, so she snags it up, and as the title says, there is something that he's hiding from her. It was not memorable. All I wrote was, this was cute enough, but I really loathe modern technology being mentioned in books, and this one mentioned TikTok too much for my liking. So yeah, the main character is trying to help her roommate like be caught up with the modern times, but I don't enjoy a lot of modern technology and like app names and music names in books, and there's just too much of that in there for me personally. Okay, and then we have Night Shift by Annie Crown, and this is going in I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. This was short and it was sweet and it was really cute and I really enjoyed it. It's a basketball player and a girl who works at the school library college romance. I thought it was really cute. I really loved the characters. I loved the way it was written, and I'm a sucker for a good sports romance, and I feel like it's been harder to find a really good sports romance, and this was just like a pleasant surprise. So if you want something quick and easy with really lovable characters and like, I don't know, just like young love, I think this is a perfect example. Okay, and then we have Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry, and this is going in I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. This is a cozy fantasy. I think it's based in the Dungeons and Dragons world, or it is heavily inspired by it, and it is about this orc named Viv who opens a coffee shop and all of the hardships that she faces with opening the coffee shop and her past catching up with her. There is a slight sapphic romance. It's just, imagine drinking a cup of hot chocolate and also being given the warmest hug ever. That's this book. It is so cute. I love it so much, and I'm reading the prequel right now, and I just think about this book a lot, especially when I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3, because I imagine if I was in Baldur's Gate 3, this is what I would be doing versus going and killing a bunch of monsters. So I love it so much and I highly recommend. Okay, and then we have Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer, and this is going in Cleanup on Aisle 8. This is a hockey romance. I really love this series. I think it is so cute and so well written. So this follows our main characters named Jamie, and okay, I can't remember the first girl, the girl main character's name, but she is the personal assistant of professional hockey player named Jamie Stryker, and so they're like forced to live together, forced proximity. She's coming off a really bad breakup, and I think he's kind of a playboy. I guess he learns how bad her ex was in bed, and he kind of has this competition going with himself. I don't really remember that in the book, if I'm being honest, but I remember really liking the book and I thought it was really cute. Forced proximity, like I said, she works for him, she lives with him, and he's kind of just like only has a soft spot for her type of vibe. They were really cute and I really liked it. Okay, and then we have Collide by Val Cabra, and I am putting this on Cleanup on Aisle 8. This is again another hockey romance, who would have known, and this follows Summer and Aiden, and Summer she wants to be, I think, like a sports statistician. She wants to do something with sports and numbers or something like that, and so her professor tells her you have to do it with hockey players or you're not gonna pass this class. She has a really bad past with hockey players, and so the captain of the team, Aiden, he took the fall for something that his teammates did, which has kind of put him like in a shit spot with his coach. So his coach pairs Aiden up with Summer for her project, even though like they both don't want to do it. So it's kind of like enemies to lovers, forced proximity, college romance. I thought it was really cute. I really love them together, and I really hope this author writes another. Well, they are writing another one. I just don't know when it's coming out, but it was super cute and I really loved it, and I can't wait to read the next one. Okay, second to last one, we have The Fake Out, which is the second book in the Vancouver Storm series. Behind the Net was the first one. So this one is going in I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. This follows the sister of the main character in the first book and the ex-best friend of the guy in the first book. The sister is a physical therapist for this hockey team, and the ex-best friend gets traded to this team, but so does her ex-boyfriend. So her ex-boyfriend like really fucked her up, and the main guy and the girl hatch a plan to fake date so that her ex will leave her alone because he's like sexually harassing her at work, and so that's their plan, is to fake date so that he leaves her alone. Like, I just love the character development of them. They are so cute together. I love them so much. Besides the romance, there's a lot of things that go on, and I really love them together. Rent-free up here. Okay, I didn't think we'd ever make it here, but we are at the last book. So the last book is Blood and Steel, The Legends of Thesmar by Helen Schurer, and this is going in I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. This was my first 5-star romantasy from Kindle Unlimited. I am obsessed with this book. It follows our main character named Althea, and she has this fate stone, and it has the age that she's gonna die on it, which is 27. So she only has like 3 years to live, and her dream has been to be a warrior. But something had happened like 20 years ago where a girl grabbed a piece of Thesmarian steel and like a weapon and kind of unleashed monsters into the world, and so there's this prophecy that women were going to basically be the downfall of this empire. So ever since then, they did not let women become warriors anymore. It was just men. Althea spends all of her free time secretly training, and then something happens where she gets to ask like the people in charge for a favor, and that's what she asks for, and they eventually say yes. And so this book is about her training to become a warrior and how all of the men feel about it. She makes some friends, she makes some enemies, and she also meets a lover. So I really hate that word. There's a romance there, and it's very brooding. She like doesn't take shit from anyone, and I love that there's trials that they have to do. That's my favorite thing in any fantasy book, are trials, and there's a ton of them in here. There's also characters that you just despise and also characters that you love, and the storyline is just so good, and I feel like I wasn't expecting that going into it because my Kindle Unlimited romantasy experiences haven't always been the best, but this was so good. I bought it, and I also bought the second one because I need to read it, and it's just so good. I want to jump back into the world so bad. It has the perfect amount of like action, and the world building is great, characters are great, and I'm really excited to read the next book. Okay, well, those were all of the books I read in 2023, tier ranked and explained. I know this is a bit of a longer video, but I really had a great time doing it. I think it's so much fun and a great way to talk about books that you've read. Let me know if you've read any of those books and where you would put them in my tier ranking. I love to see what other ratings people give the same books. I think it's so interesting. Let me know what else you'd like to see from me, and if you have any book recommendations, always drop them down below. You can see a little bit more of what my tastes are like through this video. That is all I have for you. If you enjoyed, please give this video a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. I hope you are all staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!